I'm going to do what Sean Cleary said this morning, and that is tell a story. And so they said to me, just go for it. And I have a cheering team somewhere who said, don't be nervous, just go for it, because I've never spoken to such a large audience before. I have to say that my own take with why is moral education so important to me? And it takes me back to my childhood, where as a young girl growing up in a suburban town in India, I grew up on the stories that my mother would tell us around the dining table. And it was a ritual, and much of what I've learned and what shaped my individual personality is because of those stories. And storytelling is a powerful means of communicating something without being didactic or pedantic. And I was pleased to see in the presentation that there was really no didactic approach, and I'm sure for every principal sitting here, you will lead your schools in exactly the same way. You will not allow a didactic approach, because morals cannot be taught through a didactic approach. And I have to share a situation that happened with me. I'm not sure how many of you have experienced a moral dilemma, but I have to admit that when I was a little girl, I was in grade 4, all of 9 years old, and I stayed back one day for games, and I had to complete my homework while the boarders were at tea. And I had to say, I didn't have a pencil, so I looked around, and the boarders would pile their books up. And I opened a compass box, and I said, I'll use the pencil and put it back. But then I saw this big, white, beautiful, scented eraser with a green tip. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but that was that eraser that caught my eye, and I said, I'm going to take this, it's too beautiful, and I slipped it into my pocket. And I finished my work, and I put the pencil back, shut the box. Remember, there were no CCTVs in those days. So I skipped off, but halfway down to the games field, Mrs. Brown's face emerged in front of me. And I remember in our school, we had Bible knowledge. And if you were a Christian, you did Bible knowledge. If you were not a Christian, you went for moral instructions. And Mrs. Brown, through storytelling, would explain things to us. And she said, if you ever take anything that's not yours, it's going to weigh heavily on your conscience forever and ever and ever. And that's what it did. And suddenly that rubber became very heavy. That eraser became heavy. And I ran back and I put it away. And I said to myself, I just felt so light. I felt so good. I felt so happy with myself that I was able to do something that was right, despite being tempted to do what was wrong. And when I came home and I shared this with my mom, we're a large family, we're 9 of us, I'm number 8. So when I came back and I shared this with my mom, and my brothers and sisters went, what did you do? And I said, I looked down and I was waiting to be scolded. And my mom said, I'm so proud of you, because that's exactly what you should have done. And she got up and she brought the newspaper, the local newspaper, and she said, in this newspaper, there's a story today that resonates with what you've just done, and you've saved me. And I said, saved you? How? And she read out the story to me, and it was this young boy, all of 18 years old, who was handcuffed in the court and was being taken to the prison. And his mother was in front of him, and he asked the policeman, he said, can I please speak to my mother? And the policeman said, yes, of course. And he went and he bit his mother's ear off. And when she was surprised, she said, son, what are you doing? And he said, Mom, when the press asked him, he said, when I robbed things as a little boy, my mother never checked me. She never told me this was a wrong thing to do. And look where it's led. Today I'm going to prison because I wasn't checked when I was a little boy. And we all cried buckets that day, and we just thanked our mom for who she was. But bring the story back to GEMS Modern Academy, and I think when I speak for GEMS Modern Academy, I speak for all of GEMS, because we all have some form of value education in our schools, some form of moral education programs in our school, be it through the PSHE of the British schools, or through the PYP philosophy of the IB, or through value education that we run as 1 or 2 periods, depending on which part of the school you're in. And I wish I had some beautiful slides to show you, because if I pick up any school from GEMS, you will see all of the wonderful things that were there. And but what I do want to say is that it is through what has it done to me as a leader, as an individual who comes to school every morning, ready to charge my teachers and students to do what they have to do? And all of us have this name badge. And you will see, for me, every time I put on this name badge, it is a reaffirmation. It is telling myself that I am privileged to be in the position I am. I have a responsibility. And when I am mindful of that, then I go in there really empowered to do what I think is the right thing to do. Exactly what the 4 pillars of this wonderful model education program that has been rolled out for us. Now, we already had a wellness program in place and a mindfulness program in place. And just like you, Brendan, we used the first 2 pillars to roll out the pilot project. But we constructed it around our already existing pillars of wellness and mindfulness. And so when we looked at character and morality as one pillar, and we looked at individuals and society as the other pillar, it fit in beautifully with what we were already doing. And I have 2 stories to share from the experience. And one is my 11A class, a group of very, very naughty boys. And teachers find it difficult to handle that class. All our schools have 1 or 2 classes like that. And teachers found it, 2 minutes, all right. Teachers found it very difficult to handle that class. And they came up, we were talking about breast cancer, and they said, can we grow our hair for breast cancer? And I said, why? You want to make a statement? And they said, yes, we want to make a statement. Now, boys in our Indian schools are not allowed to grow their hair. But we allowed it. And now they're finding it difficult to maintain it because they can't play soccer, they can't go trekking. But it's a commitment they've made, and they've grown their hair. We've run a Pounds for Charity campaign through the wellness program, through the mindfulness program. In our school, so we're losing weight. I've lost 5 kilos. We're losing weight, and we're being sponsored for the weight loss. All our colleagues are sponsoring us, and that is going to Dubai Cares. So that's how we complete that circle, because model education is an ongoing, it's not in isolation, can't be taught in the class. And I have to say to you, to this wonderful August gathering here, that we've got, if I have to ask you, do you want to be, as an educator, do you want to be a carpenter that chisels out a beautifully shaped chair, but the one that you imagine? Or do you want to be a gardener who's actually growing a sapling the way it's meant to be, just by loosening the soil, making sure it gets enough sunlight, and watering it? And if I have to end with a quote of Vikram Seth, he says, choose a lens, a richer lens, reach for a vision more complete. Thank you.